Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to Developer Maroof. In today's lesson, we'll look at DOM observers. We have two kinds of observers. One is mutation observer, which watches for changes in the DOM. And the second one is intersection observer, which watch when elements enter or leave the viewport. They are the building blocks of lazy loading, scroll animations, and reactive UI. So let's start by looking at the HTML we are working with. So our HTML is tiny. We have an h1, a hint to open the console. Then we have two divs. So the first one is container, which is empty right now. And this is where our mutation observer will watch children being added and removed. And the second one is target. So you have noticed we have put some inline styling. I pushed it right after the other elements. It is way down the page on purpose. You can see we have put it right at the bottom, so we can scroll to it later for intersection observer demo. And in the bottom we have script.js, so we can load our script. That's it. No frameworks, no libraries, just the browser's built-in observers. So just open your HTML in the browser with Go Live extension, and then press F12 to open your console tab, this one. So that's where all our browser output will show. Right now is empty, so let's do some coding and see what happens. So let's start by building a basic mutation observer. So let's add a comment first. Mutation observer. So mutation, as I said, mutation observer watches children being added or removed. So let's create a container, and this container will be this div right here, equals, let's take document dot get element by ID, and then we can just put that ID name, container. After that, let's create const mutation observer equals new mutation observer, and we have a callback function right inside this mutation observer function. Then we have some mutations, and right here mutations dot for each. We have a callback. Inside that we have mutation. So for each mutation we will first log. Inside the log we have mutation type, which is mutation.type, and below it we should put a condition. Mutation.type is equals to childList. If it's true, then we can just put some logs like added mutation.added nodes dot length, and comma, let's add another comment, nodes. Let's put another log and say remove, comma, mutation dot remove nodes dot length, and the same way nodes. So this is our mutation observer created. Now let's say mutation observer dot observe. Inside that we have two parameters. One is target, one is option. So target will be this container, and the options will be, let's say, childList true. I'll explain you after all done. Now let's just trigger it. So first we should get our paragraphs. So let's say const p1 equals document dot create element, and let's create our paragraph. And inside that paragraph we should add some text. So let's say p1 equals, or not equals, but p1 dot text content equals first child node, or let's say first child added, and let's say container dot append child. Which one? p1. So we will see that first child inside our container. And let's create another p2 equals document dot create element, and then this is also p, and p2 dot text content equals second child added, and then we have container dot append child, and then p2. So let's save it. You see we have first child added inside our container and our second child right here. So what we did is we created a mutation observer and pass it a callback. So the callback receives an array, this one, of mutations. So each one describes what changed. You see right here we have added for each loop, and it will tell us what are the changes. And then we call observe on the container with childList true. That tells the observer watch for children being added or removed. So this observer will watch our mutation observer and that container. And then below it we added two paragraphs and append them to a container. And you can see inside our console the observer fires twice, right here and right here. Each time it tells us mutation type was childList and one node was added. That's it. That's the basic pattern of mutation observer. observer. So what we just saw here is every observer steps. Create observer with a callback, this one, and call observe on a target with some options like this childList true. Then change the DOM and callback fires with some details about what changed. We can also add some more observer options. Like this was the first option. We have multiple options we can add. Let me just quickly show you those options as well in a clean way. So let's just type here mutation observer options. So let's create option or options observer equals new mutation observer, and then we have a callback mutations. So inside that we can put condition mutation dot type equals to attributes. If it's true, oops, we made some mistake. Let's just say mutation for mutations for each, and inside that for each loop we have just copy it and paste it right here. So inside that we should also put mutation here, and right here if this condition is true we can just add a log that attribute changed, comma mutation dot attribute name, and let's just copy it so we don't waste time. Let's add if type is characterData, and then we will say text changed, and we can just add a target here, target dot text content. All right, so now let's observe it. So we should first say options observer dot observe, and inside that we have a container, and after that we have some options. So first option is childList, which let's make it true, and the second option will be attribute, let's make it true as well, and the third option, let's say characterData, let's make it true as well, and the fourth option will be subtree, which will be also true. So let's just trigger them so we can see them cleanly inside of our browser. So let's say container dot set attribute. To set an attribute, let's set data updated, and its value will be set to true. All right, and the second trigger will be, let's say let's call our first child, this one, let's say p1 dot first child dot text content, and let's change that text of p1. Let's make it text was changed. Okay, so you can see our text just changed, and we have attribute changed, data updated. So you can see that this is the same pattern with the new observers as well. We have new observer, callback, then call browse, this one, but this time the options are richer. We have 4 options, but before we have just added single option. So attribute true watches for attribute changes on the target, and characterData true watches for text changes, and the subtree true means watch not just the container itself but every descendant inside it, means every element inside it. Without subtree we'd only see changes directly on the container. Then we just trigger 2 things. One is set attribute on the container, and the second one is a text change on the first paragraph text, which is a node. So in console you have seen that attribute has changed and the text changed to text was changed. You can also see inside our page as well. So the observer reported exactly what changed and where. So I think that's enough for mutation observer. Let's just comment these out. Let's just comment these out, and let's come here and let's just add a comment, intersection observer. I already told you that intersection observer watch when elements enter or leave the viewport. So let me just quickly type target equals document dot get element by ID, and we can just put target here. So this target is a ID of this div right here, this one. So now let's just create an intersection observer. Intersection observer equals new intersection observer, and inside that we have a callback. Let's get some entries, and inside that we can just same way make for each loop for this, for each, and then for each entry let's just add some conditions. Let's say if entry dot is intersecting, then add a log, say target is visible, and just put entry dot target dot style dot background equals, let's say light blue. If it's true, the target style will be light blue. If it's false, so inside our else we have a log target left the viewport, and then we can just put entry dot target dot style dot background will be equals to light blue, or let's make it light green. Alright, so if else, then for each, then we have our callback, but maybe after this we can add some threshold. Let's say threshold will be 0.5. That's it. And now let's just observe it. Let's say intersection observer dot observe, and inside that let's put our target, and let's add a console. Let's say scroll down to see intersection observer in action. That's it. So let me just explain you what's happening here. So intersection uses the same pattern. New observer, call back this one, and then we observe on the target. So the only difference is what it's watching for is the element's visibility in the viewport. So each has a entry dot intersecting to see if it's intersecting or not, which is a boolean. So we use that to change the background and a log message. And we put threshold 0.5 means fire the callback when 50% of the element is visible. You can also pass an array like anything 0 or 0.25 or 0.5, 0.75 or 1 to fire at multiple visibility level. So the last line, this one, observe it, and this one just show us a log that scroll down to see the actual result. So let me just scroll down slowly and let's see our result, what happened. Scroll down, you see we have a light green color right inside our target div. So this happens as the target div crosses the viewport. So the moment it is 50, you see right now it's light blue, and the moment I am here, at the moment it's 50% visible, two things happens. We can see a console and the background flips to green. If we scroll back a little, we can see the console again and the background has been changed. It means the moment it leaves the viewport, target left the viewport logs and the background flips to blue again. This is exactly how lazy loading images or infinite scroll or scroll triggers animation works in a real apps. The browser does the heavy lifting, we just react to the callback. That's it. So this was all about the intersection observer. The last thing which is very important to know, that every observer has a disconnect method. You should always call it when you no longer need the observer, otherwise it sits in the memory and keeps firing forever. Let me just give you some example. Let's say let's comment cleanup, and we have some methods like MutationObserver dot disconnect. This is to disconnect, like let's just uncomment these and let's disconnect this one. You see we are no longer seeing its console. If we comment this out, you will see its console right here. If we disconnect it, we no longer see it. If we just copy here and change our second option observer, you see its logs and its views are also gone, and last one is intersection, and let's disconnect it as well. You see now everything is clean. So in single page apps, components mount and unmount constantly. If you forgot to disconnect, you leak observers, and after a few thousand navigations your app starts to crawl. So that's it. That's DOM observer, mutation observer for watching the DOM change, like children, attributes, text, and the whole subtree, and intersection observer for watching when element enter or leave the viewport, which is perfect for lazy loading, infinite scroll, and scroll animations. And always disconnect when you are done. So in the next lesson, we'll move on the browser APIs like Canvas, Clipboard, and geolocation. If this lesson helped you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone learning JavaScript. Jazakallahu khair for watching. Allah Hafiz.